you so far. All right, so today we're going to be doing our grade 4 English lesson on regular past tense. So we're going to be doing our grade 4 lesson on regular past tense, right? So it's basically just writing something within the past tense. It's things that happened already, right? And before we start with our lesson on regular past tense, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged into aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. All right, language arts and then grade 4. And once we have selected our subject of language arts, grade 4, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of regular past tense. So our chapter that we are focusing on today is regular past tense. So our chapter is regular past tense. Our subject is English, which is also language arts, grade 4. And the lessons that we are focusing on is to identify verbs in the regular past tense. Which sentence is in the regular past tense? And then we're going to form and use regular past tense, right? So that is going to be our focus lessons under our chapter regular past tense. And our tutorial lesson is going to be on aplusstudents.ca. So if you want to go back, recap, go over certain things, there we have the chapter, subject, grade, as well as the lessons that we are focusing on today. And that is on aplusstudents.ca. All right, let's start. So we see that our chapter is regular past tense, right? And when we talk about the past tense, right, then we're talking about things that happened already, right? So in the past tense, it's things that happened already, right? If we're talking about now, then we say present tense. But in this case, in our chapter, we're talking about the past. It happened already. It is done, right? So if I did something now in the past, it happened, right? So usually in the past tense, right, it tells us about something that has already happened. It is done, right? So whether you did it an hour ago, it's in the past because you did it already. It has happened already. It happened already. It is done. So if you washing dishes an hour ago or 30 minutes ago, right? Then it means that you washed dishes because it is now in the past. As much as it's 30 minutes later, but it is now in the past because it has already happened. It is done. It is past. It is past that clock or that past that time, right? So whatever you did an hour ago, 30 minutes ago, this morning, right? It is in the past. It happened already. And when it comes to regular past tense, right? So regular past tense, verbs specifically, because it's the actions, right? The regular past tense verbs, it ends in ed. It ends in ed. And if we look at examples of regular past tense, right? Look at this example at the bottom. It says, I wash dad's car. That is something that you're doing now, right? So now, you say now, which is in the present. I wash dad's car. So wash is our verb. It's the action that we are doing. I wash dad's car, right? But in the past, I washed dad's car. And as you can see, there our verb changes to washed. So what is the words that was added? We added ed. We added ed to our specific verb. So wash is it's in the present tense. So wash is in the present tense, but in the past we washed and we added the ed. Washed, right? So when it comes to regular past tense, right? Regular past tense verb, we basically write the ed at the end of our verb, right? To show the action that happened or that took place in the past. I play in the park, right? So in the present or now, right? I play in the park. So play is our verb or play is our action, right? Which takes place now, which is in the present, right? But remember, our lesson is about the past. So in the present, I play in the park. So play is our verb that is something that we're doing now. But in the past, I played in the park. I played in the park. So if we identify the regular past tense verb within the sentence, it is played. And as you can see with played, we just added an ed at the end of that regular past tense verb. So instead of saying I play, which is happening now, right? In the past, I played, and we just added an ed to that word or to that verb, and it changes to the past tense, or it now shows the past tense. It shows something that has already happened, right? So that is basically regular past tense verb, right? So the regular past tense verb, it's like a rule that you basically have to follow. The rule is to add ed at the end of that verb, right? All right. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and then we are going to go to our first lesson, which is to identify verbs in the regular past tense. So if we identify verbs in the regular past tense, let's go into that one. All right, so we said that with regular past tense, right, or regular past tense verb, the past tense, it usually tells about something that has already happened. It's in the past. It has already happened, right? And regular past tense verbs, they end in ed. So it's like you can basically say that our rule is that our regular past tense verb end in ed, right? So we have a specific verb, But to show the past tense of that specific verb, we just add an ed to the present verb, and then it will basically change into the past tense verb. For example, we washed the car a few days ago. So if we identify the verb, or let's say the regular past tense verb within that sentence, right? And then we can say it is washed. Because the present tense verb of washed is wash, something that you're doing now. Wash, I washed the car, which is now. But a few days ago, I washed the car. And this word, however, is in the past. So washed. If we think of more regular past tense verbs, right? So we have I washed the car, which is washed. Let's say if we write in the present, she laughs, or she laughs loud, right? If we basically change this word, which is our verb, into the regular past tense, then we can say she laughed loud or loudly, right? And then we added our ed. If you think of another word, the kids jump on the bed, right? This is the present tense. How are we going to change this word jump into a regular past tense verb? How are we going to change that word jump into the regular past tense verb? If the kids in the present jump on the bed, right? What are the kids doing in the past? The kids on the bed. What is the regular past tense verb of jump? All right, yes, then we can say the kids in the past tense, they jumped on the bed. Well done. So jumped, and there you can see that basically the past state, the present tense verb of jump, it now changes into jumped, where we added the ed. Yes, so well done. Jumped is correct. Let's think of another word. Um, what other regular verb can you think of? We already mentioned washed, jump. And remember, we are not changing our specific word. If you change your verb, right, then it means that it is not a regular past tense verb. So if you maybe change the verb from, let's say, sing to sang, then that is an irregular verb, right? With our regular verbs, we just add ed. All right, let's say the boys kick the ball. How are we going to change this word kick into our regular past tense verb? Kick. The boys kick the ball. How are we going to change that word kick into the regular past tense verb? Kick. The boys kick the ball. All right. So our word kick, right? If we change that word into the regular past tense, then we can say it is kicked. Yes, so well done. Kicked is correct. So kicked is correct. And we just basically added an ed to that specific verb. So now this is the regular past tense verb. So now we say the boys kicked the ball. So well done, kicked. All right, let's choose one more sentence, right? Let's say the girls played with their dolls. Oh no, not played. Let's just say play. The girls play with their dolls. How are we going to change that word play? What is going to be the regular past tense of play? Play. The girls play with their dolls. Remember, not girl, play. Play. How are we going to change play? Yeah, so if we look at that word, or if we're going to change that verb play into our regular past tense, and then we can say it is played, right? So well done. Played is correct because we just added the ed, right? So that is basically our regular past tense verbs, and we made a few examples also now of that regular past tense verb. So well done. All right. So now it says we need to select the regular or the past tense verb. The dog buried the bone. The dog buried the bone. If you look at that specific sentence, what is the regular past tense verb? The dog buried the bone. We need to select the past tense. All right, so if we are going to select the regular or the past tense verb of in that sentence, right? And then we're going to say the dog buried the bone, which is buried. So buried is our regular, or let's say it's our past tense verb. I admire the firefighters. I admired the firefighters. Yeah, so buried is correct. I admired our firefighters. We need to select the past tense verb. I admired our firefighters. Yes, so well done. Admired is correct. So just look at this word admired, right? If you look at the word admired, the present tense of admired, right, is admire, right? So if your word, let's say this is the verb admire, right? So if you have a verb that ends with an E, then instead of adding ed, right, we only add a D because our verb already ends with an E, right? So with admire, we only add a D, not ed. Because if you're going to add an ed, and then it's going to sound as if you're writing at my read, right? So this one is correct. So we only add a D if our verb ends with an E, right? He agreed to do it. He agreed to do it. What is our past tense verb within that sentence? He agreed to do it. He agreed to do it. We need to select the past tense verb. All right, so if we select the past tense verb of within that sentence, right? And then we can say agreed is our past tense verb. Agreed, right? Agreed. Because if I agree, right? It's like saying yes, right? Let's do it, right? Something that you're going to be doing, I agree. Yes, I'm saying yes, right? Which means that the present tense verb of agreed is agree, right? Is agree. And remember, what did I say when our verb ends with an E? If our verb ends with an E, then what do we add? Do we add only a D or do we add ED? If our verb ends with an E, for example, like agree, do we add an ED to a word or do we add a D only to show the past tense verb? Remember, we said that if our verb ends with an E, for example, like agree or admire, then we only add a D, right? We only add a D to that word, right? Because there's already an E at the end, right? So we cannot add another E and a D because then it means that we are not adding another E, which means that the word is not going to make sense, right? So if our verb ends with an E, like agree or admire, then we only add a D to the end of our verb to show the past tense verb, right? So, for example, agree is our present tense verb. So we only add a D to show agreed. All right. So do we understand? Do we have to explain again? Right? Remember, we are here to make mistakes because we are going to learn as long as by the end of the lesson, when we leave and then we fully understand. Right? So do we have to go back on that or do I need to make another example maybe? All right. So all in agreement. So well done. No. All right, let's continue. Okay, so let us go on to our test, right? Let's go on to our test. We are going to select the past tense verb, right? Michelle's balloon popped. If we select the past tense verb, right? If we select the past tense verb, is it going to be balloon or pop? What is the action that takes place or that took place within that sentence? What happened? Michelle's balloon popped. We need to select the past tense verb. Is it balloon or is it popped? All right. So if we select the correct past tense, then we will say popped, right? Because you basically have to ask yourself what happened, right? The balloon popped. So popped is our past tense verb. So well done. Popped is correct. Remember popped, right? We need to add our ed because remember we said that with regular past tense, we add the ed to the end of our verb to show the past tense verb, right? I accepted the gift. I accepted the gift, right? So if we select the past tense verb, is it accepted or is it gift? Is it option one or is it option two, which is gift? All right. So if we select the past tense verb, then yes, we will say accepted. Well done. So accepted is correct. So what did I do? I accepted the gift. All right. So accepted is correct. So well done. Yes, accepted is correct. Sophie hugged her grandma. Sophie hugged her grandma. We need to select the past tense verb. Is it hugged or grandma? What did Sophie do? So, what did Sophie do within that sentence? Which means that we need to select the past tense verb. It shows or tells us what Sophie did. Yes, so well done. If we choose that correct past tense, and then we will say that Sophie hugged. So, hugged is the action that Sophie did in the past. So, she hugged her grandma. So, well done. All right, so that was us identifying the verbs in the regular past tense, right? So now we're going to say which sentence is in the regular past tense, right? And remember, we said the past tense, it usually tells us about something that has already happened, right? It happened already. It is done. It is in the past. Whether it is 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, it happened already. And the regular past tense verb, it ends in ed, right? It either ends in ed if our word either ends in any other letter, right? But as soon as our word ends in an e, we only add a d. All right. All right. So if we look at this word, I admire your courage. I admire your courage. How are we going to rewrite this sentence in the past tense? I admire your courage. The sentence, I admire your courage. How are we going to write that sentence within the past tense? So I admire your courage. If we write that in the past tense, how are we going to write it? And we need to change the word in bold, which is admire. So we're going to write that whole sentence in the past tense. I admire your courage. Yes, so basically the word that is going to change is admire, right? And remember, we said that if our verb ends with an R, an E, then we only add a D. We don't add an E and a D because the word already ends with an E. So well done. Admired is correct. So we basically, if we rewrite that whole sentence, and then we can say, I admired, and you see, we only added D, admired your courage. Yes, so well done. So admired is now our past tense verb, right? That shows the past tense. So I admire your courage, which is now you're telling someone, but in the past, I admired your courage. So well done. If we look at this sentence, the rocking chair creaks, right? Look at the word creaks, creaks. How are we going to change that word creaks into the past tense? Creaks. The rocking chair creaks. We need to write that word in the past tense. The rocking chair creaks. So creaks, how are we going to write creaks in the past tense? This word creaks. How are we going to write this word in the past tense? In the past tense. We need to write it in the past tense, right? So creaks, if you say creaks again, then it means that it is still in the present tense. We need to write it in the past tense. Remember, we said that with regular past tense verbs, we add the ed to the end of our word. All right. So if we basically change that word or write it in the past tense, then yes, we will write it as creak. Right? So our S falls away and we add our ED. It creaked. The rocking chair creaked. Right? So well done to that person that wrote creaked. So well done. So creaked is correct. So I will weave a basket. It's like showing in the future, but weave. If we look at that word weave, weave. How are we going to write that in the past tense? Weave. I will weave a basket. We need to change that word weave into the past tense. Oops. And we can see that weave, it ends with an E, right? So are we going to add an ED or are we only going to add a D to show the past tense? All right. So in the past tense, I weaved. Yes, weaved is correct. So we only added our D. So well done. Yes, we only added a D to that specific verb to show the past tense. So we say, I will weave a basket, but in the past, I weaved a basket. So we only added a D. So well done. So weaved is correct. All right, so now we're going on to our test, right? To show which sentence is the regular past tense. The rain stopped. We need to say which sentence is in the regular past tense. Is it the first sentence or the second one? The rain stopped or Shannon braids her hair. The rain stopped or Shannon braids her hair. All right. So if we look at the sentence and choose the correct sentence that is in the past tense, right? And yes, the first one is stopped. Yes, so stopped is correct. Well done. So stop is our present tense, but in the past, we stopped. Hugo adjusted to the change, or we will avoid traffic. Hugo adjusted to the change, or we will avoid traffic. We need to say which sentence is in the past tense. Is it adjusted or is it will avoid? We need to say which sentence is in the past tense. So Hugo adjusted to the change, or we will avoid traffic. All right. Yes. So we will say Hugo adjusted, right? Adjusted is our correct past tense, which means that the sentence is Hugo adjusted to change. And that is our correct sentence. So well done. Browning will deliver the newspaper, or Cassie balanced on one foot. We need to say which sentence is in the past tense. Is it Browning will deliver the newspaper, or Cassie balanced on one foot? So Browning will deliver the newspaper, or Cassie balanced on one foot. All right, yes. So basically, option two, because if we say will deliver, that shows in the future because it must still happen. But in the past, we say Cassie balanced on one foot. And there we also have our D at the end of our past tense verb. All right, so now we're going on to our last lesson, which is to form and to use past tense verbs, right? Or past tense. And we see the past tense, it usually tells about something that has already happened, right? It happened already, and that is why we call it the past, right? And to form the regular past tense, we need to start with the base form of the verb, which is usually, it usually shows the present. So the base form is usually like the present or something that is happening now, right? And then we follow these rules where we either add a D or we add an ED, right? So we said with most of our verbs, we add an ED to our base form. So we add an ED to our verb, right? To change it into the past tense. But if our verb ends in an E and then we only add a D, right? And if we look at a few examples, right? For example, walk is our base word. And if we change that word by adding an ed, so if walk is our base word, but as soon as we add an ed to that word walked, and then it changes to walk, right? They walked to school last Friday. If jump is our base word, right? Then it means that if we add an ed to the word jump, and then jumped is our past tense verb, right? If play is our base word, then what is our past tense? What is the regular past tense of play? And then we can say played, right? And that is where we added our ed. So now, and remember we said that if our base word ends in an E, we add only a D, right? Yes, so played is correct. So bike, right? Bike is our base word. And then bike, we only added a D, right? The same with admire. So if admire is our base word, what is our past tense word? By only adding a D because our verb ends in an E. So if admire is our base word, what is our past tense word or the verb? Admire. Then we need to change that word admire into the past tense or the regular past tense verb. Yes, so basically with admire, we just added a D and now it is admired. So well done, admired is correct. Now let's do our test to see if we can form and use regular past tense. So the freezing mountain climbers shiver in the icy wind. So shiver, right? In the past, did they shiver or they shivered? The freezing mountain climbers shiver in the icy wind or shivered in the icy wind. So they shiver in the icy wind or they shivered. We need to choose the correct. We need to complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. Freezing mountain climbers shiver in the icy wind. And in this case, remember we added an ed to our word, right? To our verb. So it is shivered. Yes, so shivered is correct. So well done. Good job. Mandy and Oscar admire Carmen's courage. So Mandy and Oscar admire Carmen's courage. So admire, does it stay admire or admired? Admire or admired Carmen's courage. All right, so if we complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense, right, then we can say Mandy and Oscar, they admired. So we just added a D to our word admire, and that's admired Carmen's courage. So great job. Well done. The children decorate the house with paper flowers. The children decorate the house with paper flowers. Is it decorate or decorated? So the children decorate the house with paper flowers or decorated the house with paper flowers. All right, so with decorate, do we add an ed or do we just add a d to the end of that verb? So the children decorate the house with paper flowers. And in this case, seeing that our verb ends with an E, right? So which means that we only add a D to the end of that word, which is to decorated. So children decorated the house with paper flowers. Well done. Well done. All right, so that is now our lesson on regular past tense, right? And we said with regular past tense, it basically shows the action that happened already. It is something that happened already or already had happened. And when it comes to our regular past tense, right, we add either our we add ed to the base word, right? And if our base word ends with an E, then we only add a D. So that is basically our rule, right? Because it shows something that happened in the past. It already happened, right? So that is now the end of our lesson on regular past tense. Thank you very much, Grade Force, for joining our class. Thank you very much for being interactive. And I really hope that you do understand regular past tense now. So you should have a good day further. Goodbye.